what I call the presentation as a journey, because typically in self-management, there's no end to the transformation. It's a continuous process. So I call this presentation as a journey, and I'll take you through the journey in three phases. What is I'll quickly run through in the first 5 minutes where we started and where we reached uh, by 2017, which was the year where we had to look at some defining moment in terms of transition. So in order to all of us to be in the same page, I thought we'll quickly give you a rundown in the next 5 minutes on the journey. So we started this organization in 2002. The first design center happened to be in Bangalore. 2005, we realized that we need a lot of this business of structural steel design was very nascent in 2002 with not many players knowing the technology, understanding the business. So it was a lot of training which was required, and Mysore had some of the best engineering colleges, and having been from Mysore, it became easy for us to go back and establish our second design center in Mysore. At that time, JC offered us a place in STEP, uh, and we outgrew that place in a very quick period, and they were very nice to offer a bigger place. And in 2007, we moved into our own design center. Just before we moved out of the premise, we asked the management of JSS as to what do you want from us? Because it was not, that entire journey was not to make money, but they want to help entrepreneurs. And in some way, we want to help them back. They had only one request. JSS has the only educational institution meant for differently abled. They wanted us to recruit people uh, who have drafting experience, because we were a civil engineering company, uh, who are differently abled. So we agreed to that request, and starting from 2007, for the next 5 years, we recruited about 25 people who were differently able. So today in Mysore, we have more than 10% of our people who are differently able. But the beauty of it is 80% of them can speak in sign language. So when we reach office, we don't know who can speak and who can't speak, because
Oh, Shiv, are you saying 80% of the employees can speak sign language?
yeah. So
Wow.
across the floor, instead of noise, we'll see hands making signs and communication. That's what happens in the office.
Beautiful.
And in our entire website, nowhere we bring this point, because we wanted this to be kept as a diversity, not to exploit the people who are differently able. Once the IT secretary visited our office, and we refused to show him who are the people who are differently able, but he went back and gave an award to us in 2012. In 2017, we reached our peak strength of 300 people. Uh, Now let's look at what we had accomplished during that period. As an organization, we had developed certain characteristics, like humans develop their habits and mindsets. We had our own character. We were highly customer centric. Uh, in the construction industry, let me go one by one. Highly customer centric organization, we kept our customers happy at any cost. We were completely process driven. Uh, we always emphasized on improving our productivity every year uh, consistently. Now, the uh, the structural design needs a lot of specialization. I don't know how many of you are from software, how many are from the civil background. In software, we have the, the business analyst, the software developer, and the testing guy. Here also we have an engineering guy and a 3D modeling guy and a editor and a checker. So now what we did was we wanted to develop people with very high skills. So we got them to really become specialists in each of the domain. Now that's what was the characteristic of the organization. Now, what we had accomplished was we were a 100% offshore centric company. We had zero presence in the US. Our entire business came from US, Middle East, and Europe, but we had nobody in those places. We had perfected the art of doing business without anybody being on site. We catapulted to be one of the largest structural design companies from India. In construction industry, when you go back and look at the only constant is losing customers, because a lot of unhappy moments where people are not happy at the end of the project. we are proud to say that from 2006, we haven't lost a customer. That also tells that between 2002 and 2006, we lost customers and we learned out of it. We had successfully completed several hundred very complex projects and some of the prestigious projects in the US. We have worked on almost 40, 50 power plants in the US. We have worked in about 20 different states in the US. We also were part of the Kuwait National Bank, which was built in Kuwait. It's a fantastic building to look at. You can search it on the web, you'll see it. Now, continuing on that, we had highly skilled individuals in a particular domain. The other important aspect was most of the senior managers spent tens of years in the organization. So that means people were really there with us because they found that this is a place to be in. We had diverse portfolio of projects and we had great customer relationship resulting in repeat orders. So if you look at all these things, we are in great comfort zone, right? Now, the question which comes up is, why do we need to look at a change, right? Now, what we saw was, when we started this business in 2002, it was people-centric. By 2017, it was software-centric. So that means the dependency on people was coming down. When we started the business in 2002, the pricing was as high as any consulting rate. In 2017, the prices had come down significantly, right? We also went through a 3 cycle because construction industry goes through cycle. We had a very bad cycle in 2004, followed by 2008 and 2013, and the costs, pricing power keep coming down. In addition to that, looking at the pricing, lots of companies started operating in this area. Now, at the same time, because inflation and things like that, our costs started going up. And fortunately, the rupee got devalued, though it's not in the interest of the country, but in the business interest, it helped us to reduce the cost impact to 2-fold. This was the market condition, right, in 2017. Now, what we were seeing in the near vicinity was software tools could automate many processes. That means likelihood of many people losing job, further reduction in pricing. Increased competition also was making us, I think one of the most important aspects we saw was we moved from software companies. So we realized the importance of integrity and anti-piracy, but we had a lot of people working from all kinds of places where software piracy was abundant. So they had the ability to price ridiculous low prices. Now, when this happened, when we started, me and Mahesh, my colleague who started this organization, we did not have an exit strategy. Today, many organizations start with what is the exit plan, but we didn't have an exit strategy because we wanted to build an institution. We never wanted to exit and make money and run away from this business. We wanted to create an institution and leave the institution for generations to take care of. So what we saw as a potential disruption in business would be impact on individuals who are with us for so many years. So these are the 3 critical problems which we saw, and we said what we should do. So this is where we were in 2017, right? So now at this point of time, we had to start thinking about what we should do. One of the things which we also realized is every crisis when used can be a greatest change maker. So we thought when we have a very clear visibility that very soon there's going to be huge disruption, we should use that aspect in trying to look at changing the direction of the organization. So what we did. So here we are looking at the phase of transformation between 2018 and 20. It's a 3-year phase. So I'll go what we did and how we did. And why did we undertake is to address the issues which were just now discussed. The 3 important issues of if the pricing comes down, will we survive? Should we let go all the people who are dependent on the organization? So, and the huge domain expertise would go waste. We need to look at how to use it. So these are the 3 things which I'll discuss in detail. So now, why did we undertake? Now, There is always a fear that business can get disrupted. We had worked, we are one of the oldest organization who had a clear understanding of what this structural design industry is all about in India. How do we use that domain expertise and become a change enabler rather than living in fear? Cutting costs, cutting corners was not the way to go forward. Convert the domain expertise into productized service. Through this, we want to enhance productivity, stay competitive, and be profitable. I think these are the three important aspects which made us to think that we should look at changing, because we are saturated in terms of our improvements. We're absolutely comfortable. Repeat business is coming. Now, these are signs of warning. That's why we were thinking that things are not going to be okay if we continue to be in this state for very long. So now, what did we do? Accidentally, I met up with one of the co-founder of a organization called Leadership Tribe. Now, Leadership Tribe, after that meeting, came back and discussed, had presentations, and then they said they want to conduct a one-day workshop. We allowed them to conduct a one-day workshop with the senior managers. And this was an eye-opener for us as an organization, because in spite of having been together, there are a lot of hidden things which were inside the senior managers, which was not coming out. And they wanted to look at the company growing, because the earlier most when I used to work for Wipro, I always believed Wipro was my company. After that, if you look at in the next 15, 20 years, it's always been people talking about your company. Here we saw people talking about our company. So it was a moment of pride for all of us, where people are so proud about the company. We need to look at how to encourage them to come up and then implement newer strategies. Leadership Tribe recommended implementation of Agile, but the senior managers were very hesitant to take up the transformation. Right now, when we want to change, it's a very difficult task, whether as individuals or collectively. Changing the routine is very, very difficult. So the reason behind the hesitancy, all Agile implementations were not successful. The success rate was not 100%. It needed to be sustained and a long-term commitment. Predominantly used in software industry, never tried out in an engineering company. Agile involved both the provider and the receiver to be on the same page, which happens typically in a project software project, where you can have both the business owner and the recipient discuss about what features are required and keep developing. How do you do it in the construction industry? The team did not perceive the danger ahead and wanted to stay in the comfort zone. Why disrupt what's going nice was one of the important aspects, which was reason behind the hesitancy. Now, what we did different things. I went and attended to Agile courses, got myself certified. People went and got themselves certified on PMP. People did Six Sigma training. So different people went and looked at different aspects. Then I started attending Agile meetups to understand what happens with Agile implementation in other companies, what concerns they have. Then we got into understanding that Agile is a way where we can use. I'll go to the next slide, which will explains why. It's an important aspect. It is an important way of living. Agile is not a framework. It's not a methodology. It's not a process. It's a way of living. And inculcating a way of living takes an effort. But we realize that some of the principles of Agile we already meet. So it would not be very difficult to adopt. So we studied the reasons behind failure and success in the implementation of Agile. And then we decided to look at, if you look at the Agile principles, what we were good in is satisfying the customer. None of our customers are unhappy. That's one of the principles. In construction industry, change happens every day. Many of you built houses, you would know how many times you change the layout. So the same happens in construction industry all over the world. And we're extremely good in managing changes. In the construction industry, we had to deliver work frequently. That means when somebody is putting the foundation, we need to give the anchor bolts to be put into the foundation. Then we have to put the steel columns. Then we have to give the beams. Then we have to give the facades. That means our delivery was a stage delivery. We had mastered the art of delivering every couple of weeks, which is one of the principles of Agile. Business people and developers work together daily throughout the project. Our customers work very closely with us. We have a common interest. So these are the four principles where we were extremely good. What we realized was where we are really not good is build projects around motivated individuals. Our team happiness was not very great. We realized that that's one of the weakness. The most efficient way is to have face-to-face conversation. When you have a large team size, face-to-face conversation is not possible. We went through the other principles. Working software is primary measure of progress in Agile. For us, the design has to be working, otherwise it lives of thousands of people. We had no 99.99% accuracy. We had to be 100% accuracy all the time. Because we are in the business of construction, we can't have any catastrophe. Though we have a liability insurance for the last 18 years, nobody has come and asked us to pay the liability. We haven't gone through any such cases. Agile process promotes sustainable development, which we were not there. Continuous attention to technical excellence, partly is there. We couldn't say we were very good at it. Simplicity is the art of maximizing. With our existing way of doing things in a process-driven way, it was not very simple because it's a top-down approach and it was one process fits all. So it was not satisfied. The best architecture comes from self-organizing teams. So that means it has to be a learning organization, which we were not. Team reflects how to be more effective, which is not happening. Retrospectives were not there. So that means we had a mix of the principles where we were successful and some principles were just not there. When we look at analyzing this principle, all outwardly aspects of Agile principles were extremely good, which is customer-centric. All inwardly focused aspects we are not good at all. We realized, looking at this, since most of it is in our control, it may be possible for us to adopt Agile. So the outcome was, so senior managers developed competence in Agile after all the studies were completed. We took almost 3 months to prepare the organization to move into Agile, which had its own limitation, because in the Indian context, the growth in the hierarchy is having more people under you. Agile says bring the team size to 8 people, right? And there's no hierarchy, everybody is the same. And the senior most guy has to deliver the highest value. So we took almost 6 months to restructure the organization from 18 people in each team to just 6 people. Plus, to give the satisfaction, we said people from their team will be an organization pool who can be drawn on a need basis. After this, we agreed to do it on a pilot basis. Agile Leadership Tribe worked with 3 teams. They coached the project leads. And we saw 2 out of 3 teams were fairly well accustomed with the Agile principles, Agile methodology, and we started seeing some results. Now, then we decided to go company-wide. We trained all the people, and post this, what happened is something very strange. So in an organization, what happens is when you have we always look for a process or a pattern. So for one process equilibrium, we move to the next process of equilibrium. That means our Agile implementation become ritualistic. We had to have stand-up meetings, we had a stand-up meeting. We had to have a retrospective meeting, we had a retrospective meeting. Beyond that, nothing much was happening. What we realized was, no consultant can stay with an organization for 3 years. Because they have a lot of pressure from other customers. So their bandwidth is really low to work with a given organization for a long time. And we needed to take internal control on the implementation of the agile principles. Now, this involved changing the mindset of the senior managers. We'll come to each of these points. Building a team culture. Very important aspect. We always think when we come up with a new process, we state that it helps all stakeholders. But one important stakeholder, the team member, will always have this question, what's in it for me? And we don't answer that. And the last important aspect which we wanted to work on was how to build a learning organization. So these are the 7 aspects. Now I will try and get into each of this aspect, and I'll try and highlight some of the important aspects which we saw in this implementation, which this started in 2018, went on till 2020. Implementation was more realistic. What we realized was a purpose is very important to be understood by the entire organization rather than adopting to a process. If we moment we adopt a process, that means we reach a next equilibrium. That equilibrium can either be a failure or a success because we don't learn from our mistakes. So purpose became very important. So we adopted OKRAs and moved away from goals because we want, Agile says we need to look at delivering in 2 weeks. We also wanted to understand our implementation process. Is it going, people, are they taking the key actions in short intervals rather than looking at annual goals, achieving target, achieving efficiency, achieving profitability. Everything is long, and by the time we come to actually measure, the year is gone. So we in the implementation, to move away from being ritualistic, these are the 2 things which we did. We got the entire organization to spend a lot of time to understand the purpose behind the implementation, and moving the entire organization to look at how to create an object out of a purpose, break it down to key results down the line, and action it out. I think this what was one of the important step we took in overcoming this problem. The second important thing was internal team to take control of implementation. In a hierarchical structure, the leadership is authoritative, lead by example, and he largely manages. His leader's hand doesn't get dirty. Now, when we had to take internal control, we had to move away from authoritative leadership to servant leadership. It's not an easy transition. Accepting that your computer is not the best, but the front-end guy who is closest to the customer, he gets the best computer, is a difficult phenomenon. I work on Word and Excel. I don't need the best computer, but in a hierarchical organization, I get the best computer, the great specs, right? So small aspect like this to giving attention, figuring out who's the most important guy, who's delivering the highest value. So that means we always think that inverting a pyramid is very easy. When we want to invert a pyramid, we have to realize the bottommost guy has to shoulder the weight of all the people above him. And that's only possible when you change the leadership style from authoritative to servant leadership. Now, we had to move away from lead by example to coaching and facilitating. That means we have to train our people to become coaches and facilitators. One of the important aspects the leader does was managing resource. When we look at anybody's timesheet in a day, 60% of the time goes in managing people. And that doesn't add value anywhere. Over a period of time, he will not even be a leader, he becomes a manager because people don't respect him as a leader because he's not adding value to the people below him. Now, this had to be changed to provide higher value add. When I went to some of the meetups, an important aspect came up where several people had lost jobs due to midlife crisis. Some of them were attending the meetings. What we figured out in this process is when we become a manager, our skill learning, knowledge learning keeps going down. The only thing we know is how to manage customer. So in the event of a subordinate becomes as good as you, the tendency in the industry is to look at promoting the subordinate and let go the senior. So this was one of the aspects which we saw was very, very important for people not to lose jobs in their midlife. The next important thing is shifting from established pattern process to continuous evolving patterns in process. Now, when we look at ISO implementation or quality system implementation, we have a central quality management team which comes up with a process. One size fits all the people. What we realize is every team has a different skill. Every team works on a different kind of a project. One process doesn't fit all the people. So this is one of the important aspect of why the team deciding the process governed by a set of purpose becomes more important. We allowed the teams to decide on process based on project needs. We also had to accept that the people who are closest to the problem, closest to the customer, knows the problem the best. Over a period of time, an entrepreneur develops the habit of giving solutions to every problems. I'm 10,000 feet away, but I still feel, I think that I know the problem and I know the solution, and which is a fallacy. I think it's important to realize we are not the people who are closest to the customer. Hundreds of people who work with the customer every day know the problems. They actually know the solutions also. Just that we never enabled them to come up and define the problem and define the solutions. So we enabled the front-end team members to evolve the solution. One of the important aspects is in our culture, we are still in the pre-independence era where we are very good in throwing problems and not looking at solutions. So in a post-independence era, we should be looking at providing solutions and not raise problems. So this is a cultural shift which we had to bring in the individuals, ourselves and all the team members to not just throw up a problem and expect somebody to solve, but to look at how we can solve the problem. When we want to solve the problem, they need additional resources, additional people, which we have provided, and they were enabled to provide solutions for the problems. One of the mindset change was individual centric to team centric, because we have, if you look at our promotions, our salary increases, we worship heroism. We look at who's the best guy in the organization and keep looking at remunerating him, taking up on the hierarchy and things like that. And if you want to move into a self-learning organization, that individual heroism has to be killed. Team success becomes more important. One of the important aspects of the senior manager was the fear of loss of power and midlife crisis, which we had to remove. So that means we had to get him to move from a single domain expertise to multi-domain expertise, which is called PRIDE, and to two domain and multiple domains, which is typically represented by a COM. So as an organization, we transition from single domain expertise to multi-domain expertise. So in our case, it is the engineering, the modeling, the designing, the editing, and the checking. In a software parlance, it could be a business analyst who can also do a little bit of coding, a software development programmer who can also do a little bit of testing, a testing guy who can also do a little bit of business analyst job. If they are able to multi-skill, then the team starts gelling. We were very successful in implementing this, and we have got a lot of benefits out of multi-skilling. I'll explain how we got that benefit, because our productivity increased dramatically once we did multi-skilling. So building team culture was the next important aspect.
Transition. Before you proceed, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is there anyone you lost during this period because they did not want to multi-skill, or you were able to motivate all of them to get multi-skilled?
We did lose people, Vandana, because India still thinks that I want to be growing up as a manager. Those aspirants who wanted to become managers, we lost. Those people who wanted to see, one of the important aspects is when I talked about what's in it for me, this is what we said is in it for you. We are enabling you to get a better profile, which will help you throughout your life.
Okay.
Every individual thinks that when I develop multiple skills, it is for the organization benefit. What we have to really convince people was it first benefits the individual because he has got a much better career, either in our organization or elsewhere. only then the benefit comes to us when they work in a team. Otherwise, what we do is we try to skill them on what we want. Here we allowed them to skill in the area of their interest. I'll tell you the advantages of why we allowed them to skill in their area of interest. We'll
Sure.
cover.
That's good.
Now, transition from association of individuals to team was an important aspect. Multi-skilling helped in building teams. What used to happen was, if I'm a business analyst, I'm sitting on a pedestal. I think I'm doing the most important activity. If I'm doing engineering, I think I'm the most important guy. When the guy who was testing, who's last in the chain, started writing the business analyst or doing the design, that so-called differentiators started vanishing. The team started gelling together and started working as a team. The other important aspect which we did was transparency in our billing. When we got into this transition, we allowed the teams to decide what should be the billing every month. Previously, it used to be the finance department deciding what to bill. We moved away from centralized billing to the team recommending what should be billed, when should be billed. And one of the important aspects which we did, which gave a lot of good benefit to us, was we moved into a flat incentive to all team members, irrespective of the hierarchy. Once we had people with multi-skills, we said everybody is important. Now, what really happens is when we look at a multi-skill team and a financial reward which is flat across the team starts behaving like an ocean. If ocean doesn't keep anything which is not wanted, the team started giving away people who are not fitting their culture. So we had to take them and train them and allow them to go to different teams. And the team started becoming well integrated, better performing teams. It's very difficult to accept that somebody who gets 3 times more salary gets the same incentive. But what we have realized is it has helped us a lot. Other thing which we have seen is if you look at the Westerns and the Indian culture, we don't celebrate success. Now, and everything needs an approval process. So we had to dismantle that whole thing. So we gave a budget and we forced them to celebrate success. Now, this celebration of success also helped in success breeding success, because it was visible. Success was becoming visible. Otherwise, it was hidden within the team. People started talking about the success. It started spreading. The other important aspect is from an entrepreneurial perspective, we are always worried about failures. Once you adopted Okra, we started accepting that at 80% success, we started accepting as a successful project, which allowed people to stretch, which allowed people to learn from mistakes. And it takes a while to accept that people can fail and people can learn. Once this process starts, it's a continuous process and really helps a lot. Other important aspect was creating a culture of equals, which was very important mindset change, where we had to take everybody as equal and every idea is important and everybody could come back and give a feedback. And in this whole process, we also wanted to break the shackles of silos. Each team works in a silo. We wanted to get into peer-to-peer resolution of problems rather than, like, for example, when we started the Agile implementation, there used to be a scrum of scrums. Why do we have scrum of scrums? To arbitrage between problems across teams. So we encouraged people to do peer-to-peer problem resolution. So the necessity for spending time on problem resolution in Scrum of Scrums drastically came down once we got the team member to walk across to other team member and resolving the problem without going through the hierarchy of me telling my project lead, he tells his project manager or the Scrum Master, that goes to the other Scrum Master, they try to find a solution. We were able to overcome by more peer-to-peer problem resolution.
Shiv, this is amazing, Shiv. A lot of points here. You've had the courage to, go against convention. People would object to, financial rewards flat for everybody, peer-to-peer resolution. Brilliant to see, you having implemented all that very successfully. Looking forward to Q&A to understand a lot more. Let you continue, sir.
Then the important aspect is what's in it for me. When we looked at our attrition, we saw people leaving organization for a couple of ₹1,000. So we came up with a policy of skill certification. You certify and salary goes up automatically without waiting for appraisal time. So most of the annual appraisal pressure started coming down because people could get certified every 3 months, every 6 months on a skill and start getting higher salary. So the guy who was looking for an incremental small salary outside thought it is better for me to learn a skill which improves my profile in the long term and also gets a higher salary. But what we got out of this is phenomenal increase in skill. Our efficiency started going up, our productivity started going up without having a structured methodology to train people, test people, certify people. People were volunteering, people were challenging and then taking tests. It is not that we had to structurally train them. They were learning on their own, coming for a challenge test, get certified, get the increase. So this became very successful in the organization. Other important aspect which we did was once people started looking at problems, we allowed them to take up the skill improvement also started helping us in different form. Like for example, we have people who are typically like for example, an engineering guy who's never done a 3D modeling started writing program to solve 3D modeling problems. That means in hierarchical structure, you will prevent somebody from doing what he's passionate about, right? So that's one of the other aspects which will come, which I want to explain in detail how it happened. But people started learning things what they wanted, and on their own they started solving problems. So those solutions we didn't even imagine are possible, and they started delivering those solutions, and each of these solutions becomes so very important. And this is not one of a solution. There are 100 people working in different directions in their area of interest and started working and giving up solutions. So a lot of automation solutions started coming from the teams. One of the important aspects which we had to do was with automation, everybody has a fear that let me not take up any automation because that loses job. Now, one of the stories which I keep telling everybody is the first revolution was the mechanization, where a lot of people lost, the weavers lost jobs, right? But today the designer earns 100 times more than a weaver. It is not that everybody lost job, but if you are able to skill up yourself, you'll be the most wanted guy. So combining with multi-skilling, skilling, and becoming proficient in area of your choice and profession will ensure that you will never lose jobs. And that made people to come up and automate processes without having a fear that they'll lose job. They were sure this will allow them to do a lot more and get more business. We also had to make sure the junior most member who is the closest to customer, it's shown in action. We normally disregard every suggestion he comes up with because it doesn't even reach you. So we had to find methodologies of making sure that the junior most guy is able to reach the senior most guy and come up and share his ideas and problems. Success became contagious. It enables individuals to become more successful. This is a great learning which we got. And these are things which significantly help every individual to feel what is happening is in my interest, not in organization interest. Otherwise, in every organization, when we look at making a process change, they feel that it is done to improve profitability. Who gets the benefit? The management, the stakeholders, the shareholders. We could break many of those things using these principles. The last of the thing is how to build a learning organization. This is where what we did in whole of 2020 was we said we'll spread this learning organization across the entire organization. We came up with interest areas and we allowed people to join those interest areas. So I drove it personally myself, and we had 4 initiatives which went across the organization. Typically in hierarchical structure, even though we are moved into agile, still the dependency on going through the project lead is very high. But when we created a parallel structure based on the initiative, for example, in our case, it was automation. knowledge portal, then looking at how to acquire more customers. Now, these were the initiatives which we took where people who had interest came in. That means birds of the same feather started flocking together. And we met every day continuously for 52 weeks, the whole of 2020, pandemic, no pandemic, we all met. And over a 3-month period, we started seeing great initiatives being taken. This, the people in the respective areas where area of interest started coming up with innovative solutions. This group of interested people also enabled peer-to-peer communication. Rajesh, you said, how did it happen? It happened more because of these unorganized hierarchical structure, not the formal hierarchical structure.
Yeah.
Right. So today what happens is when, yeah, Rajesh.
So this is in the Spotify model, this is called as creating chapters, I think, which you have kind of intuitively come to that conclusion and implemented. Awesome.
Yeah.
The special interest groups, right?
Yeah,
and then
special interest group.
They get into me. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So now, some of the most innovative ideas came from the most unexpected people, where in your typical appraisal, you say that this real guy is not going anywhere, he is saturated. But when he came into this, the new initiatives, he was a phenomenal guy. That means he's in the wrong position in the wrong place, which is not possible in hierarchical structure to figure out. Now, so that means he was not fitting the 3 domains which are required to work in a team. He was working in a 4th domain, which is not even part of the 3 domains. So that means we gave an opportunity for him to become successful in the organization, not getting frustrated. And all this helped individuals realize their strengths and areas, and they start contributing. So these are the 7 important things we went about doing to enable this. Now, what did you learn from this? Fear of lower productivity was short-lived. All of us have a fear saying that when we get into a new methodology, the revenue goes down, customer dissatisfaction comes. None of my customers talk about Agile. Construction industries has not even heard Agile. So, but when we got customers, they were thrilled because every problem was on the board. They saw their problems there. It was not hidden because we tried to cover up problems. Here it was all exposed, right? Customers were extremely happy. The project's delivery on time improved to 90% plus. Here, on-time delivery is when he wants, not when I want to give or when I wanted to give. So our error percentage, the very first time, we adopted the principle like buddy system and reduction in working process. These are the things which we used, brought our error percentage the very first time to less than 2%, which was much higher when we started off. Other important aspect is every team became a sales engine. They were one of the important organizational goals across their performers. How satisfied is your customer? How much of references has he given? How many times has he appreciated? The teams are measured based on it today. So they go all out to get references, and the teams have managed customers' expectation much better than what I would have done or my managers would have done. That's a great thing. Attrition has drastically come down. These are the important things which have happened. Productivity and revenues have gone up significantly. We can today happily claim that our productivity has gone up 80% over the last 3 years, a combination of smaller team size and automation. So we are no more feared by price reduction. Customer references have helped us get bigger customers where our sales cost has come down. Senior managers have abundant time on their hand, so they are figuring out how they can add value to the team and the customer. Individuals and teams have started working on several innovative ideas. These are the accomplishments which I have. Now, in the process, what we did was we also had the idea of converting our domain expertise into. I'm going to finish in next 10 minutes, which will be 1 hour, so that we have time for the discussion.
Sure.
Building a product or a productized service. Several of these things which we are doing for internal usage started finding use as a global requirement. So starting from 2018, we started building a software team to take up many of these innovative ideas which were internally used. Without having the fear that my service revenue will come down, we said we'll go and give it as a product, and we'll look at converting this organization into productized service or a product-based entity, rather than thinking that I'll keep everything to myself and realize that someday somebody else also has done it. So we wanted to be ahead of others and come up with a product. We should be launching this product, which is going to be called Virtual, in about 3 months' time. The construction industry is very underserved. I was explaining Rajesh and Vandana yesterday. In 1993, I attended the first CSI exhibition in Calcutta, where we demonstrated the first ERP, where the design had no connection with the inventory guy. The inventory had no connection with the purchase guy. The inventory had no connection with the production system. So Wipro came up with a solution where we built hooks to each one of them and demonstrated in CSI Calcutta as to how a change in the spoke size in a cycle, the decision can be taken whether we should do it or not when we connect all of this. Construction industry is exactly in the same phase today. All of you might have got exposed into building homes or doing interiors. When you discuss with your architect, it's sketch on hand or SketchUp. The structural designer uses several different tools, but he rebuilds the entire house which you are wanting to build. The rebar guy actually does everything manually, right? In the US, what happens is the architect, the structural engineer, the fabricator, and the erector. Now let's add complexity. We have a piping system. We have an electrical system. These are all disparate systems. You don't know what will clash with whom. If you're doing a steel plant, a power plant, you do the entire construction, then you realize there is a gas line going and it's unable to route. And you go through change. So now the product which we are developing reduces this problem because we have interconnected all of these disparate systems in Virtual. So this greatly bridges the gap in the construction industry. Now, this is where our transition ended is one phase. And after this, what do you want to do in 2021? I think it's important to realize what we want to do. We want to allow the teams to behave like companies. Because how do you do it? We are allowing them to build their capabilities and their skill sets. We are not dictating what capabilities you have to build. That means we are enabling them to the ultimate situation of learning what they want to learn, build capabilities, get references, get orders, and execute them. One of the important aspects is we always think that meeting customer expectation. From there, we are moving to every time we look at how much value did we add to our customer in his success. That's the transition we are doing now. Once you meet your goal of achieving 90% plus on-time delivery, that's a cliche. We should forget it now. Now, where did I add value to my customer? Did I reduce his construction cost? Did I reduce his erection cost? Did I reduce his fabrication cost? Did I reduce his material cost? So we are now looking at, like that's where we said we built a knowledge portal where we have the entire knowledge available in a software. Intuitively, people can go back and search every aspect and figure out how I can add value to my customer. We are looking at value addition each of the team. We will continue to harness the innovative solutions which are in-house developed and convert into the software product. Product and higher level service, we are hopeful that we have beaten the paradigm shift and we will become the task bearers for the new paradigm when the pendulum starts moving in the opposite direction, which we see happening in the next couple of years. So other important thing is we will be completely digital. We'll be focusing heavily on AI and automation. And most importantly, we are upstreaming the problems. Customers used to see problem at a direction. Now we are going to show them while they're designing. So staying digital, automation, artificial intelligence will help them to upstream the problem. So rather than being reactive, they can be proactive. This will also bring down the huge arbitration which people go through, the huge cost they incur. So my existing customers are not too very happy with about us. So very soon we're going to be changing our customer profile, because they're definitely not going to be happy when we say your change orders come down, because this software will greatly bring down the change orders, because we anticipate the problem much ahead and we provide solution even before it occurs. So we're going to be moving away from the existing customer base, so we go up on the value chain. I think I end this session with this, and if there are any questions, I would like to.
The Shiv, for people ask, I mean, I think for us, it was looking like a textbook example of self-management and going beyond. So future of workplace and self-management put together. So superb. Yeah. Thanks so much, Shiv.
Fantastic, Shiv. Fantastic. Yeah. It was beautiful. Beautiful.